Hello, hello, everyone. Good evening, good evening, good evening. Can y'all hear me okay? Let me know and put a 1 in the chat if you can hear me all right. I am TJ Randolph, and welcome to Cocktails and Conversations with TJ Randolph. I am very excited because I have a very, very special guest, and I am so honored that he has given me this opportunity to talk with him. But before I do it, I got to give shout out to my firstborn nephew. That was him on the saxophone, the Shoreline, Rhyan Spunk Adams. You can find him on Spotify and Apple Music. This single was the Shoreline. Wow. This has been a whirlwind week. I know it's just starting today, but I'm talking about from last week. I'm still catching up from being out on Thanksgiving. And if you see, like, I'm kind of dressed up today, I'm actually doing it in honor of the lead, wearing my suit jacket. I'm wearing my own shirt and tie. So without further ado, I'm going to bring the lead to the stage. Please welcome him. Hello, sir.
TJ, how are you doing? I'll hit it.
How are you doing, sir? Thank you so much for joining me. And listen, for those of you all who don't know, the lead, first of all, I want to give a shout out to the Lapid Network because they are the first ones that, gave me, I was calling into their show. And that is actually how I saw the lead attorney when he came on to their show. And since then, the lead attorney has been so supportive and creative and encouraging newbies like myself, because he says he's a small YouTuber. That's a non-starter. That's a no. You can't say that no more.
Ryan can't say it no more.
No, you can't say it no more.
How about the mentality? I still have that mentality.
Well, you can't say it no more. So, okay. Lee, before we get into it, you're in trouble a lot.
Man, I don't. Maybe this is proof that I still have this small YouTuber mentality, because I don't know how to avoid all of these pitfalls, right? I stay in
I'm
it.
like, huh?
I say, you're right. I stay in it. I don't know how to avoid it, to be honest.
Well, you're just dissecting the information and giving your analysis. But for some reason, I guess your analysis has a little bit more weight than others. And that keeps you in trouble.
It does. It absolutely does. Although, in this space, it just seems like, trouble can follow you. Trouble can find you. You could be minding your own business, and then bam, somebody makes a video about you, or bam, somebody takes your content, or this or that, right? So every day now, it's been this way for maybe, I don't know, a month or so. Every single day, there's a mention or two of there's a video or two of me or something that I talked about on YouTube, just reaction videos. And
Mm-hmm.
I know the temptation because I've done a few reaction videos myself because some stuff is interesting. So you absolutely want to talk about it. And I've absolutely had those days where I need to stream, but I can't think of anything that I want to talk about. So an easy go-to is kind of a reaction video. Like today, I'm
Mm-hmm.
supposed to be sprint streaming Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. I just didn't see anything I want to talk about today. So we'll hopefully something will catch my eye on Wednesday.
Because everything is about you right now.
That
You know,
was a good one. That was a good
yeah,
one.
everything is about you. At TLA, at Kevin Samuels. That's why.
Listen, it's so weird, this whole YouTube journey thing. I did not think that I would be here where I am. I didn't think that last year. There were so many things that I did not understand about becoming someone who's on YouTube, and that's really why I try to kind of give back and save people a lot of heartache and frustration and time more than anything. Time I wasted so much time trying to figure out what was going on. Having said that, I'm still learning. It's amazing to me all the stuff that there is to learn about YouTube. And it's like, the higher you get, kind of the more there is to learn. About tagging and thumbnails and all this and all that, but now there's more advanced subjects to think about.
Mm-hmm.
One of which is how to stay out of trouble.
Okay, listen. Before I forget, because I at last check I was up to 899
Wow.
subscribers.
Awesome. That is fantastic. That is
So
fantastic, TJ.
I share with my subscribers, I endeavor to reach 1,000 subscribers for Christmas. That will be my Christmas present. So they can help me
Yes.
get there to 1,000 subscribers for Christmas. So I'm really, I can taste it. I'm almost there.
Absolutely.
Um,
When did you start your channel? How long have you had it?
May of this year.
My goodness, you are just speeding through it. That is so awesome.
May of this year. And I'm very grateful. I don't know if you've known or if you saw on my channel that I started this actually as a form of therapy for myself
Mm.
in May.
Hmm.
Um, there was a time, it's mental illness is very serious. It's not anything to play with. And for a long time, well, in May, everything's going great in my life. Wonderful
Yeah.
husband, wonderful family. Everybody's safe from COVID. My granddaughter was just born, healthy. But for some reason, I just couldn't shake this depression, this
Yeah.
heaviness. And literally, I was taking a walk, and I was having conversations in my head
Mm.
to walk out in traffic to end my life.
Jesus.
So I say nothing but the Lord kept me from doing that. As I'm listening to my music and a song came on, and it pulled me back. Literally, as I was about to step out, pulled me back. So
Wow.
from that point on, I started to go into therapy, and they want you to write journals and stuff like that. Well, I hate my handwriting. So I said, well, let me do a video journal. And I started to do it just for me. But
Yeah.
then I thought other people may be helped from it, because people, when I told I'm sorry, my
No,
dog,
no, you're fine.
go outside. When I told my supervisor, he said, Terry, I never would have noticed. I would never would have known, because you're always, on top of it. I never would have known. So that's why I started it. And as it has grown, I've met some really good people like yourself, Courtney, shout out to Courtney Michelle, Lauren, Lucky, Darrell, a lot of people that I've met in this space. And I want to help. And so, but as much as I want to help, I found myself in trouble too.
Wow. When did I get it? I think my first trouble. See, you got in trouble early. I didn't get in trouble until maybe I had about. I mean, it could have been 30,000 subscribers. So you are advanced.
Yes, I'm in
you are
trouble.
you are advanced. How are you in trouble?
Well, I'm glad you asked. I'm gonna I'm gonna share it with you. I'm gonna share my screen. There, there's a young lady YouTuber, and shout out to the female content creators in this space because, you know, that's the only way, in my opinion, that we can move these things forward is to have varying points of view.
Yeah.
And we're not going to always agree, and that is fine. And one of the reasons that we're not going to always agree is because based on maybe our age, our life experiences,
Yes.
um, cultural differences, it's just going to be different. But I think it's important to respect those differences. So, because you were already in trouble, lead, you're already in trouble.
Bit of trouble.
About Miss April Mason, you're already in trouble. And this young lady, I'm going to share my screen here. Her name is Chantel Simone. I think
Yes.
okay. She did a reaction video to April Mason, to your video with April Mason, and she's talking about toxic femininity and the traits of April Mason's points. And she was talking about, and I don't know if you've seen it, that stuck in the past, and April Mason's trying to shame all Black men, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I didn't necessarily agree with that because do you remember a point in the interview or the talk with April that she mentioned that people want us to go back in the 40s and 50s, and she says she's not really wanting us to go back that far because in the 40s and 50s women didn't have as many resources as it relates to making their own money, et cetera, et cetera. So they had to stay in marriages, whether they were healthy marriages or not, they had to. So she wants us to go back to what I gleaned from it. And I'm not putting words in her mouth, but what I gleaned from it, she said, definitely we need to go back in certain areas, but not all the way back there to the
Mm-hmm.
40s and 50s. So what I wrote, and I'm gonna look at it here. I'm gonna bring it up. I wrote, read your history, young lady. A man of any race.
Wait. Read your history, young lady.
I did. I did.
Okay.
I did.
Okay.
Yeah, I did.
I thought this was going. Okay.
I did. I did. I
Okay.
did.
Okay.
And I said, read your history, young lady. A man of any race could legally beat their wife until the laws were changed in the 70s. I was born in 67. And I wrote, how does Miss Mason explaining what she saw her mother experience equate to shaming all men? Is that a fair question?
Yeah. Was she talking? Maybe was she talking about you in the video?
No, not yet. That's later. This is
Okay.
before the video. The video came today. This was 3 years ago. I mean, this was 3 days ago.
Okay. Let me say this. Let me say this. And I don't know what you're gonna say. I'm gonna try to call this fair. All right. I'm gonna try to
I
call this
appreciate it.
fair. All right.
Yes.
Listen. Sometimes trouble will find you, and then sometimes we can kind of go looking for trouble. All right.
Oh, like when I said young lady.
Well, I thought read your. What did you say? I can't see it.
I
But
said read your history, young lady.
read your history, young lady. That's not. There's nothing wrong with it. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But if I'm gonna be honest, TJ, the tone is a little bit off.
Okay.
The tone is a little bit off, to be
I
honest.
can receive it.
Okay.
I can receive it.
Okay.
I can receive it.
Okay.
But wait, there's more. She writes, my heart goes out to old women like yourself.
Oh, see this? Oh, God.
Who are stuck in your hurt and trauma.
Jesus.
So I write, even though my grammar was kind of messed up, but I think she got the gist of it. I said, no need, sweetheart.
Sweetheart. See,
yeah.
What? Okay. You're going.
I'm 54. Okay, she's young enough. I'm assuming she's young enough to be my kid. But right. I know you're right. But you're right. Okay, I was wrong. But anyway, moving on.
Okay.
I said, I acknowledge my hurt, but am not stuck in it. I've done my work, and after making many mistakes, I'm happily married, and I wish the same for you.
If you took out the sweetheart thing, there's nothing wrong with that. I like that. That's nice. What you put was 100% fair if you take out the sweetheart thing.
Okay. So that now you have the background.
Okay.
let's move forward to today, shall we?
Oh gosh.
This is the video that was just brought to my attention before, about 30 minutes before our stream here.
Okay.
And it's about moi. I
Look
didn't,
at you. I
oh,
had to, it took me 30,000 subscribers to get where you are right now. You are blazing a trail.
but that's not, that's not what I'm here for. But let's get into it, shall we?
Okay.
The same grace that we expect our men to give us is the same grace that we're supposed to give them. These men that we have here in 2021 weren't the ones that was beating their wives in the 40s and 50s. Hello, YouTube, and this is Chantel, and my channel is for women who genuinely want to do better at dating and relationships by understanding certain topics and certain talking points from men's perspective. I try to keep my page as solution based as possible. However, in order to get to solution, we have to highlight the problem. And the problem we're going to talk about in this video is how many of us, especially Black women, have adopted that mindset that men were so abusive in the 1940s, 50s, 60s, 70s. We have this mindset that the patriarchy was so bad and men were so abusive, so we have to be on our P's and our Q's. And this was influenced by a comment I received on the video. I talked about the toxicity of Miss April Mason's talking point because Miss April mentioned that men were abusive in the 1940s and 50s. And this young lady had commented very similar talking points. And I'll post a comment right here as I. So I'm a young lady now. Let's continue. If you guys haven't already, please go ahead and hit that like button. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button to help me grow my channel. Now the comment reads, read your history, young lady. A man of any race could legally beat their woman until the laws were changed in the 70s. I was born in 67. How does Miss Mason explaining what she saw her mother experience equate to shaming all men? To answer the question, all right, how Miss Mason explained what she saw equates to shaming all men because we're still bringing it up. It's 2021. If we want to move forward, if we want to see better, we want to do better, we are going to have to enter relationships with men in good faith. We can't enter relationships thinking of what men in the 1940s, 50s, 60s, 70s did. We can't enter relationship holding that over our men in 2021. And this is a narrative, this is a talking point that so many women push back on. So many women who claim that they're not feminists, claim that they want to do better and see more two-parent households in the Black community. The same grace that we expect our men to give us is the same grace that we're supposed to give them. These men that we have here in 2021 weren't the ones that was beating their wives in the 40s and 50s. And just like how we want to learn from our ancestors' mistakes, we want to learn from our parents' mistakes and not repeat those patterns. Let's give these Black men the same grace and assume that they too want to learn. I'm not arguing it. Okay, so listen. What are your thoughts thus far on what you've seen?
Um, I kind of want to hear your. Okay, I'm not sure you guys are talking about the same thing because
Well, yeah. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Because when she says, "Listen, let's not the guys that are here now are not the guys that were there in the 40s and 50s." I mean, that's a true statement, right? Because I'm old and I was born in the 70s, right? And when she says, let's enter relationships in good faith, and let's not assume that the traumas that happened in the past are going to be the same traumas that we're going to get into in our present relationships. I think that's a fair statement too, and I think a lot of times people in the well, I'll just say that I think it's a fair statement, but I'm not sure. I didn't hear anything that you said that I didn't feel was a fair statement either. So I'm not sure you guys are talking about the same thing, or maybe I'm missing it.
Well, I'm not sure either, and I found it interesting. And just so you know, I I I wrote to her and I said I wonder why she didn't put the entire exchange where she called me that she feels sorry for old women like me, etc. And I invited her, so welcome varying points of view. And I invited her on to even to call in tonight so we can discuss further or maybe do a collaboration. And she declined, which is totally her right. But what I find interesting as I'm learning in these YouTube spaces, people twist stuff.
Yes.
Because I did not say that the men of today, nor did I write the men of today are the same men as in the back that were in the 40s and 50s. What I asked was that she still did not really, in my opinion, if she did, please square me away, that she still did not answer. I asked, what does Miss Mason's account of what she saw her mother experience equate to shaming all men?
Yeah. Is that what she said? Did she say that April Mason's account of her mother equated to shaming of all men? Did she say that?
In the first video, she's talking about shaming all men. And that's why I asked the question, how did April Mason explaining what she saw her mother's experience, how did that equate to shaming all men? And I asked a question.
Here's the thing. I'm not. And again, I'm kind of confused about it. But if she said that April Mason's account of what her mother lived through was shaming all men, then I totally like. I don't understand how that would be the case. All right.
Mm-hmm.
What I suspect is that she would say, I never said that April Mason's account of shaming all men, April Mason's account of what her mother meant through equated to shaming all men. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
That would just be a weird statement to make, right? Because
Yeah,
April Mason probably talked about a lot of things. And it
she
could
did.
very well be that when she thought that April Mason was shaming all men, it could have been for maybe another reason, another part of the video.
Well, and it's possible because again, I did look at the video as to what she was, and that's why I asked the question.
Yeah.
Because even in looking at the whole clip that you did, I didn't see how it equated to shaming all men. That's why I asked her the question. Now, I will concede that maybe I should have left the read your history sweet young lady part out of it. I'll give her that.
Also, did she say that April Mason was shaming? Did she use the word all, or was that your
She said
word?
shaming black men.
Okay, because she was definitely shaming black men. She wasn't shaming all black men,
Mm-hmm.
but she was definitely. I mean, she was shaming me. She was shaming Kevin Samuels. She was trying to shame. It seemed to me that she was trying to shame men who did not support her
No,
because
I'm talking about in your first video with her, not her reaction to that. I'm talking about your first interview when she came on, when
oh, okay,
the
okay, okay.
byproduct one.
Okay.
That's the
There's so
video
much
she.
stuff floating around
I
with
know, right?
April Mason.
I know, right?
Yeah.
That's the video she was talking about when she came on and the initial interview that she was when she was getting her tire change or something to that effect. So that's the one she's referencing. She's not talking about the one that she, for lack of better, clap back. That she's not talking about that one.
Got you. Got you. Got you. Got you. Yeah. Well, I will have to admit that I've hired an editor now, and to put these he's clipping them, and I'm kind of editing the video, so we're going back and forth. So there are about 3 or 4 different videos of April Mason that I have in my head because I think I put out a video of her on her today, and
Mm-hmm.
so I don't really remember specifically. I would have to see what Chantel said about what part of that made her think that she was shaming men. I really, there's so much swimming in my mind around this lady.
Okay, so let's take the focus off of this young lady. But the question: how do you deal with stuff like that when you
Okay.
feel that people or whomever are taking what you're trying to put out of context or trying to? Good heavens! Now look,
No, you're fine.
let me get my dog out of here. I don't know what he's doing. Just about.
No, you're fine. You're fine. You're fine. And I will, the first thing that I typically do, and I think this is kind of where it initially started downhill, was when I talk to content creators, I am always aware of my tone, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because tone is very important. And especially when you're writing, you have to be super nice just so
Mm-hmm.
that the tone doesn't isn't perceived by the other person as being aggressive or being an attack. And
Mm-hmm.
I see that in myself because sometimes people will write me and I will be like, why are you writing me this comment with such an aggressive tone? And so what I'll do is I will respond, but in a
Mm-hmm.
very nice tone. And do you know what? When they respond, invariably it's a super nice tone too.
Mm-hmm.
So, to me, it makes me think that, well, either they were really hot when they saw this, and
Mm-hmm.
now that a couple of hours has passed, when I respond, now they're in a different mental space. Or maybe it's just me. Maybe when I read it, I feel attacked. I'm like, hold up, what are you talking about? And it could be,
Right.
when you started off, your tone was off. You're to be honest. Uh,
And I will receive that.
okay. So now here's the thing. If we're building a foundation
Mm-hmm.
and the foundation has a huge crack in it,
Mm-hmm.
what can we really expect from everything that rests on top of the foundation?
It's gonna
If the
fall.
if the tone starts off messed up,
I will agree.
then you not that you have to discount everything else that was said, but
Mm-hmm.
it's hard to once the tone is messed up, it's hard to say, oh well, let's analyze the structure of the house. Because it doesn't matter what the structure of the house is if the foundation is messed up. And so you say, well, what do you think about this argument? What do you think about that argument? But the whole conversation's tone was off. So kind of, that's
I'll
that's the
receive
only
that.
thing.
And see, that's
Yeah.
the thing about me. I have no problem
Hmm.
admitting when I am wrong or
Yeah.
apologizing. I have no problem with that. And I will agree, I should have phrased it a little bit better. But here's the thing, Jonathan, I think you're wrong about Chantel. If we're being honest, you provoked her action. Okay, I receive that. The
Yeah.
younger generation is just sick of the, you know,
This I don't remember the I remember the color purple, but I don't remember the I don't remember the actual movie, right? I just remember it being a huge movie. I don't really remember like the plot of the movie. This could, you know, I don't want to say this is a shot, right? But again, it comes from the fact, and this is actually a great lesson for all of us YouTubers. You can start something off you can start something off with a bad tone, and now there's a whole bunch of stuff that follows it, right? There's a whole bunch of stuff that now people start picking sides, people start defending other people, right? For example, I my very first kind of beef, it wasn't really a beef, but it was a big misunderstanding. A misunderstanding was with Tommy Sotomayor,
mhm,
and we had a little misunderstanding, and then all of his people started taking sides and coming over and coming in, invading my chat. And so I can't, one specific person, he takes a shot at me. Well, why did he
mhm.
take a shot at me? Because he's defending Tommy Sotomayor, and maybe the thing got off, right? So this is kind of what happens. There are a lot of consequences. There's second order, third order, fourth order consequences when the tone isn't right. But I could absolutely see. I mean, listen, you are a mature woman. You are not in the habit of taking a lot of BS. You've got a military background. I can absolutely understand why you are more straightforward. I absolutely get that, right? And some people are straightforward, and some people, that they're more, they'll walk around the barn with you a little bit, and some people just want to go straight through the barn, right? And so a lot of times there's just misunderstandings with that.
The reason for my facial expressions is not necessarily you, Lee, but the tie of the color purple. I'm struggling to understand what that meant. I know what they mean, but can someone say something original other than repeating what Kevin Samuel said? I'm just saying. Can we say something original besides the color? What does that mean exactly? When we talk about the color purple, I'm just saying, what does it mean?
Yeah, I don't remember. Is that's the movie with Whoopi Goldberg in it?
Yes, yes,
I think I get. I'm
yes.
thinking. I think I'm thinking about Harlem Nights. I don't know which one. I don't. I don't remember. This is. This looks bad. This looks bad for me. Like it would take my black
No,
card, but I don't
no,
really
no.
remember the plot of The Color Purple.
It's just ridiculous. I mean, again, I just wish somebody could get some original thought here, but that's just, the color purpling. What it was a movie, but art imitates life. Not to the extreme, but I mean, this is just ridiculous. But anyway, about you. What prompted you to start your YouTube channel?
Yeah, talking about getting older, right?
Mhm.
I felt myself getting older, and I don't have any kids.
Mhm.
And so when you get older and you don't have any kids, you can start to look around like, what is my purpose here? I've practiced 20 years, I've had my career, I'm
Mhm.
good. But there's no one to leave anything down to. Like there's no legacy. My family is extremely small. There are like
Okay.
5 of us, right? So we're really small, and I don't have any kids, so there's really not like a legacy thing. And
Mhm.
so I have a lot of knowledge that I have used to help a lot of people. And I typically charge for this knowledge. But now, after 20 years, I want to slow down. Like I'm done fighting. There's no reason for me to fight anymore. Especially
Wow.
if I'm not gonna have any kids myself. You know, I see attorneys and they'll be 70, 75 years old, 80 years old, and they're still lugging themselves to court. And I'm that's not me. That is absolutely not me. I was done. To be honest, I was kind of done around 15 years in, right? And those extra 5 years, I was kind of looking around like, okay, something's got to change because this is getting too crazy. It's very, being an attorney is just a very stressful job, extremely stressful. And for
Now,
you, mhm.
was it fun when you started the
It
work?
was
Was it fun
funner
for
when
you?
I started. I mean, it was
Mhm.
stressful because I didn't know anything. Right when you
Right.
graduate from law school, you don't know anything. You learn. It's like
Mhm.
all on the job learning. So it's always a stressful job, but at least it's funner because you're learning stuff. So your mind is captivated. But after 5 years, 10 years, 10 years in, you can just hand me a file and I'll take it and I'll go to court and I'll argue the hell out of it. Right. Just like you just been doing it for so long. So that's 10 years in. Imagine 15 years in. Now you got 20 years in. It's like,
Mhm.
man, I need something new because this is not exciting anymore and it's just stress. And that's one of the things about this YouTube thing, man. I get excited over this. I get absolutely excited. Like I did a video today and I made an intro. Like you gotta have to understand. All right. Y'all watch my videos and y'all are like, oh, that's cute or whatever. You don't understand that I don't have a video background. Like when you see a video like that I've done, it's me. And so little things where you guys just glaze over, I'm like, oh, look at that, look at that. I love to watch my own videos. I get so I can watch my own, like I put up a video today. I
Mhm.
swear I could watch that video 40 times over, just back to back to back. I just get enthralled at it, enthralled. I have not felt like this about the law in at least 15 years. So this is like a new woman, man. This is like something just totally new, totally special, and I am in love with it. I do these damn thumbnails, and I love it. I love it when people comment on my thumbnail. I did a thumbnail today, and I was like, "Ooh, I'm gonna do this," and I put that thumbnail up. And one of my very first comments was like, "Lee, that thumbnail is on," and I was like, "Yeah, I loved it." I just get so excited. And that's when you win it. When you get
Right.
excited over a damn thumbnail.
Right.
I did my very first thumbnail I did was on a video that just tanked, right? The very first thumbnail that I thought was excellent. And it just
Mhm.
tanked. It tanked for 8 months, 9 months, right? But fine. But I did another video. My second best thumbnail was with Anton. Anton Daniels. He came onto
Mhm.
the stream and we had a
Right.
back and forth. So I did that video and I did that thumbnail. And when I did that thumbnail, I was like, oh, that thumbnail's so hot. That thumbnail so guys, I don't remember the name of the damn thing, but I don't remember the name of the video. But if you go back and look at that thumbnail, I'll say it now, that thumbnail is amazing. Yeah. And I went through periods of where the thumbnails weren't good. It took me a while to kind of get my own style. All right.
Right.
But I get my own style now. Oh, I did an intro. I don't know if Lauren is in the I don't know if Lauren's in the
Lauren
chat.
is in the chat. Oh, and to Man of Prestige, thank you. This was part of my one of our wedding gifts. My husband has one that says hubby and mine is wifey.
Oh, shout out to Man of Prestige. Yes, I did an intro with Lauren. I'm Lauren. Oh man, when I tell I, I was so proud of that intro. I don't even remember. I don't think the intro really had much to do with the video, but I
Lauren's in
did it.
here.
I don't
Lauren's here.
remember it. Oh, there she is. Shout out to Lauren, man. I did an intro with Lauren. I made that damn intro. I was hot for like 2 days. I was like, oh, the intro is killer. Listen, probably 80 people watched that damn video, right? 80 people, but I didn't care because to me, that intro hit so hard. I was like, oh my God, I could not get enough. I could not get enough. And so this is the excitement that I have with YouTube. Now it's not all that, people, I get in beefs and people attack me, people, make videos about me. That's good. But in terms of what I can control, I absolutely love it. Absolutely love it. And it's because, you control so much. If you're arguing with opposing counsel about a case and, they don't have a good case, but honestly, your case ain't that good either. Your client was crazy. Their client was crazy. Now you're going to court. The judge is crazy. You don't know anything about these jurors and you're sitting in a 5-day trial, a 7-day trial, and you're all stressed out. None of it was fun to me, not after 20 years. But when I make a thumbnail, if I make an intro with Lauren, I'm like, oh man, this is gonna kill them,
This
Or I
is
make
the
yes, I love it. I absolutely love it. I did not know I was gonna feel this way when I started YouTube. To kind of get back to your original point, you were like, why did you start? I was, to be honest, I was getting older and I don't have any kids, and I want to get this information out. There are a lot of brothers, a lot of young men who need the information that I have and they will not pay for it. Some won't pay for it because they don't even think about paying for it. Some will not pay for it because they're cheap. Some will not pay for it because they need the information, but they don't have the money, right? There are a lot of different groups of men who need this information that I have. So I was like, well, I'll just start making videos and putting this information out. They say when an old person dies, it's like a library burning down, right? Because they take all of that information with them. That's what they used to say back in the day. You don't hear that anymore because now there's Google, right? So, but before the internet, before Google, that was really true. Your grandma passed away. That was a lot of information that she took, right? And so what I want to do is just get this information out to the public. Now, the way that I have had to get that out has changed and morphed and transformed. What I wanted to talk about, people didn't want to receive it the way I wanted to talk about it. So I had to learn how to present it in a way that people wanted to receive, that people would receive it. And then when I start giving this information, they say, hey, Lee, why don't you talk about this thing over here? So then maybe I start talking about this. And they say, hey, Lee, it was cool that you talked about that. Why don't you talk about this? So now I'm letting kind of the audience, I'm letting the community guide me. Now it's not me so much giving them what I think is important. It's them telling me what's important. And then I'll follow their lead, pardon the
no pun
pun.
intended.
That's exactly right. So this YouTube journey has just been fantastic for me. And it's given me a new energy that I just did not have in my previous career.
Well, to that point, I have a relative, a young man, father, and it's not with the son's mother. And it broke my heart, what he had to go to just to be able to see his child and did not have the money. So I paid for it. I let's do it because, Courtney, shout out to Courtney Michelle. Me and my daughter and Courtney, this past Saturday, we talked about, the importance of fathers from a daughter's perspective, because the three of us all have different but similar experiences as it relates to our fathers and the importance of them, you know, the fact how it affected us that they weren't there.
Mhm.
So, particularly knowing how my relative loved his son, it would break me down to see him so emotional. And he's a young man, he couldn't afford it. So I helped
Yeah.
because we have on the one hand we do have fathers that are not there because they don't want to be there, but then we have fathers that do want to be there. For whatever reason, it doesn't work out, and the mother won't allow them to be there. And like to your point, they may not have the resources. They may not,
You're
because in
right.
some instances we paid some money and it still didn't get everything that he had hoped for.
Correct. That's exactly right.
You
It's not
know,
a fair system. You're exactly right.
no. And I'm gonna tell you, there's nothing more painful than to watch a man cry.
Yeah.
Tears of not being able to be involved in their child's life and want to and they can't because the mom is angry because it didn't work out. There's nothing worse than that
I
to see,
agree.
to witness.
I've witnessed it for 20 years. Right? I absolutely agree. It's terrible. And the fact that you know that they're crying is justified. It's not like they're just crying and they're being a wuss. No,
Right.
it's they are justified in it. Right? And
Yes.
there's really not much that you can do. It's
Right.
absolutely terrible. I totally agree. And that's another thing, you're a divorce attorney, you're gonna be listening to men cry, listening to men complain justifiably sometimes. Sometimes it's not justifiable because men are just people too, right? And people
Right.
can be right or people can be wrong. You represent both of them, right? You represent people that are in the right, you represent people that are in the wrong. And what you realize as you get older is that you don't have all of the time to live. Like
Mm.
your time on this earth is limited. And
Mm-hmm.
so once you realize that, you need to be like, oh, okay, I need to start doing less of what I don't like and more of what I do like. Right now, when you're young, sometimes you got to do a lot of what you don't like because you're trying to build yourself up. What a lot of
Mm-hmm.
people do is they build themselves up and they keep getting, I don't want to say greedy, but they keep wanting more and more and more. And you got people that are doing stuff in their 50s that they don't even like. Right.
Right.
And that's not how I want to live at all. Like, I did what I needed to do in my 20s and my 30s, and you got to grind. All right. I get it.
Mm-hmm.
But we also need to look up every now and then and say, hey, has the situation changed? Am I good now? Because if I'm good, then maybe I can start actually living my life for the things that I want to do and not living my life just because of a dollar sign or,
Mm-hmm.
any type of extraneous obligation that's placed upon me. I can do what I want to do. So now I might spend, an hour editing a 5-minute video and everybody watches the 5-minute video and they're like, oh, okay, that was good.
Right.
I've seen it 40 times and I'm like, oh my God. Woo, like I can't, you know what I'm saying? And I love it. I absolutely love it. And
Yeah.
this is what I want to do with my life. And then helping others start their own YouTube channels, right? I mean, the amount of money that you can make on this, and it's not like I'm making a killing, but other YouTubers in the space are absolutely making a killing, right? Shout out to the kosher clinician. So
Absolutely.
yes, I mean, this is a space where if you're persistent and you just make small changes, but you don't give up, you will absolutely get there. You will absolutely get there.
The kosher clinician just wrote here, he said there's a faulty sentiment that men don't want to be in their kids' lives. And that is a faulty sentiment. What I like to do, I try to do. I'm not pro man, pro woman, I'm pro right. I'm not going to co sign on something just because a woman says it. I'm not going to co sign on something because a man says it. But if it's right, if in my opinion it's right, that's what I'm going to agree with. Kosher, you're right. That is a false sentiment because there are many times, and we've seen on our own network, many times that some women told their kids that dad didn't want anything to do with them, and that was a lie.
Absolutely.
Conversely, we must not say or overlook the fact that there are those men who don't want to be in their children's lives, who choose to. Me, Courtney, my daughter just talked about it on Saturday. Neither is right because who pays in the end is that child. That child is going to be missing the love of a father that they deserve. I'm grateful that my father and I are close now, but it's broken. It's broken because, and I have admitted, Bleed, early when I had my daughter, I was crazy. And I did some stuff out of anger. Yeah, anger and insecurity.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of the reasons, another reason I started the channel, say, don't do that.
Right.
Because your child will come to you later and say what they saw you do. Because my daughter has said how it affected her seeing that from me towards her father. Not a good look.
Yeah, kids can, they got a memory too, right? And they can remember things, and their memory is going to be pretty warped sometimes because they're remembering it through a brain that wasn't really old enough to understand all the implications of what they were seeing, right? But the good thing, though, the good
Yes.
thing is that I think all the studies show that kids are extremely resilient,
Yes.
and kids can grow up to be functioning, productive adults when they have lived through some extreme trauma.
Mm-hmm.
So even though kids' bodies and they're small and they're fragile, kids do have a resilience when they grow, and kids can overcome a lot of things.
Thank God. Oh,
Yes.
I forgot to say what I'm drinking tonight for cocktails and conversations. I'm having coffee with Bailey's Irish Cream because it is in the 50s here in the DFW. So I thought that I would do something a little warm.
Nice. 50s,
Cocktails and
yeah, it's
conversations.
getting chilly. That's exactly right.
And shout out to the Leeds Patreon because he is dropping gems for new YouTubers. So if one of the moderators would mind putting his information in the chat, because he's dropping so many gems, I can't keep up with them. I have to I have to literally set a day aside to go through these go through these videos because he's trying to put us up on game.
Yeah, that's one of the things that my editor is helping me with too, because I would do these long Q&As and they wouldn't get a lot of, because no one really wants to sit through that stuff, right? So I have to make it digestible for the audience. Really, this is one of the biggest things that content creators that we all struggle with from day one, from absolutely day one. We think it's our channel because we buy all the equipment and we're the ones talking, and
Right.
we think that we're in the driver's seat. We say, okay, this is the message that I have that I'm going to tell you, and this is the way that I have decided to tell you. And one of the most humbling things for any YouTuber is to realize that it is the reverse. It is the absolute reverse. It is not at all about what you want. It is about what what the audience wants from you. Look at Kevin Samuels. Kevin Samuels started out, he's like, listen, brothers, I'm going to tell you about shoes. I'm going to tell you about cologne.
Mm-hmm.
YouTube was like, no, you're going to tell us about something else. Right? Same thing with me. I was like, oh, guys, I'm going to tell you guys about child support. I'm going to tell you guys about alimony. YouTube was like, Lead, shut up. And we're going to show you what you need to talk about. All right. They said, oh, I'm going to make all of these 7-hour streams, 8-hour streams. YouTube was like, Lead, people are going to enjoy your 7-hour streams when they're in the stream. Watch what happens when you hit in stream. Watch how many people watch that stream. You need to start cutting them up. And I resisted that for a year, right? Now I finally bit the bullet. I was like, fine, I'll cut them up. And people are loving every single time I put a clip up. 4 minutes, 5 minutes, 7 minutes. I get tons of comments. Thank you so much for clipping these things up. Thank you so much for making these things digestible, right? I fought that for a year.
Right, right,
Well,
right.
you mentioned my Patreon. What do I tell people about Patreon? Clip your lives up. Right? They clip them up because people will, they do not, when they see the word, when they see the letter seven, the number seven starting out, like, oh, this is 7 hours and 45. I'm like, nope, I am not clicking that. I am not clicking anything that starts with a seven, anything that starts with a six, anything 5 hours and
Anything
43
start with a
minutes.
4.
Exactly. Maybe 4 minutes, right? And so YouTube really, the one thing that we, not only do we have to learn it, but we have to remember it every day. And it's a fight that is not about us. It's about what the viewers want. And once we get the viewers what they want, then
Mhm.
we will be rewarded and we will be successful. So the trick for all new YouTubers is to put what you want inside of what the people want. So you give the
Hmm.
people what they want, and then they're like, oh, thank you. And then you jump out and you're like, got you, right? Here's my message that I tricked you into getting because I was trying to give you something and you didn't want to receive it. So I'm going to give you what you think you want. And then I'm really going to give you what I think you need.
Okay, I'm sorry. I must go there. Isn't that what April Mason said? She the sugar was the dating, and then when they got
You're absolutely right. And Kevin, Kevin Samuels even acknowledged this. Kevin
right.
Samuels said he said that there was truth
Mm-hmm.
interspliced with what she was saying.
Yeah.
And every content creator knows this. Every content creator, every artist, every rapper. I remember when Andre 3000 was so mad that he wanted to make conscious raps and everybody just wanted him to make booty shake, right? He would have blown up. But he's trying to be conscious. He's trying to be deep. He's trying to talk about things. Rappers in the 90s were dealing with what YouTubers in 2021 are dealing with currently.
Mm.
There's always going to be this tension.
Well, the OJ
And
said you got to give the people what they want.
it's true. It is
For my
absolutely
old heads,
true.
if the coach in there, he know what I'm talking about. The OJ say you got to give the people what they want.
That is absolutely right. That's absolutely right. So who's ever buying, that's what we need to give them, right? If we can. Now you don't want, there's this whole thing about, oh, you sold out and this and that, right? There's a tension there. But if you don't give the people what they want, it's going to be impossible for you to be successful
Someone is
long term.
I've got some questions here. I put the link in there if anyone wants to call up and ask the lead some questions. But someone has asked, I think, about your. Do you have any? Do you envision yourself married in the future?
Just is the wrong word, but I was in a long-term relationship that ended in the summer.
Mm,
And if that relationship had lasted into next year, I think we would have been married. But it just fell apart. But so
mm,
I am not one of these, even though I consider myself in the manosphere, because I started the channel to help men, let's be honest.
mm-hmm,
And
mm-hmm,
I try to put forth a lot of information that will help men. I
mm-hmm.
am not, not all men in the manosphere are anti-marriage. Uh, it would be too far to say that I'm pro-marriage, but I'm not anti-marriage, and I'm not anti being single for the rest of your life. I am about doing what you can do to live a happy life without hurting anybody.
Definitely. And to
Right.
your point about your career, the your career change or the transition, absolutely. Because I was in the military and then went into the federal government civil service and did a lot of labor and employee relations. So dealing with unions and, also reasonable accommodation, so disabilities kind of stuff. And it was fun at first, but it started to drain me.
Yeah.
It started to drain me and it wasn't fun anymore. I mean, I enjoy helping people, but it got to a point that helping them was at the expense of helping me.
Exactly. Exactly. Right? You're
Yeah.
exactly right. There comes a point where you notice you're like, you know what? What's really happening here is that people are handing me money,
Mm-hmm.
but then they're also handing me problems. Right? And there comes a point in time where you're like, you know what? It's not worth the money. It's not worth it. You could double the money and it still wouldn't be worth it because I don't
It's a
have all
transference
the
of energy.
time.
It's a transference of energy.
Yes. Yes. People are selling you their problems. You say, listen, I'm going to give you some money. Here are my problems. As an attorney, you fix my problems. Problems that I did not create. Right? I don't even know you. I just know you signed a check for your initial retainer.
Right.
So I'm taking your money, but I'm taking your problems. And now that I've got your problems, now I'm stressed out. Now I can't enjoy my life. Now you need to relax. You need to start working out harder. You need to get a sauna. You need to do this. You need to
And
do
you
that
never do.
because you don't have time, right? So there comes a point in time where you're like, you know what? How about this? How about you keep your money? And then they're going to be like, well, who's going to fix my problems? That's not my problem.
I don't know.
That's not my problem. You keep your money and I'm
Yeah.
going to go do a thumbnail, right? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I am not worried about you anymore. I'm not worried about you. And, I've fashioned my life where I could do that. Now, let me be honest. If I had 4 kids, 2 in high school, 2 in college,
Yeah.
you wouldn't see the lead attorney on YouTube because I would have all these obligations. I mean, let's be real about it too, right?
Yeah.
I'm set. Okay, I'm good.
Yeah.
And if I had 2 kids in college and 2 in high school, you would not know who the lead attorney is. I would just be, going to court, Atlanta, Fulton County in Atlanta on Monday morning at 9:00. They know who I am. You don't know who I am. So the way that my life has worked out, I don't have all of these terribly expensive obligations, which is why now I have the freedom to live my life the way I want to.
And that's a good point because again, what I'm able to do now, because I've recently retired, thanks to my husband, thank you, babe.
Yes.
But when my daughter was little, and I'm military, I couldn't do that because again, I had a mouth to feed. And I need to make
Exactly.
sure we had benefits.
Exactly.
But now she's grown and married and on her own. So it does make a difference. We got OG Patrice in the house.
Shout out to OG Patrice.
Hey, TJ. Hey, Lee.
How are you doing?
I'm wonderful. How you guys doing?
I am
Good.
doing fantastic.
Good. I just have 2 things to say. TJ, when
Yes.
you put that comment up by Jonathan, your face was priceless, girl. You have to go back and watch it.
Let me ask you this, OG Patrice, because maybe what is the reference to, what's the color purple reference? Do you know what that reference is?
It's just a reference, it's sort of like the woe is me mentality, that I think the younger generation think that we have as the older generation, as the saying, in the content of Wear the Color Purple, and the role that Mr. played and how he portrayed like that Black man, that they're saying that we ain't that and we not gonna go for that narrative. So
Because
but I didn't know that
Mr.
Kevin Samuel said it though. I didn't know that Kevin Samuel had said it first.
I
Yes,
still don't understand the
the
reference,
color
to be
purple.
honest.
Because
But maybe
basically, Mr. is one of the he's one of the main characters, and Whoopi Goldberg is the main character. So Mr. was her husband that she was forced to marry, and he beat the crap out of her at will, and she had to do what he told her to do. He could bring somebody in the house and sex them up, shug and all that kind of stuff, and she had nothing to say just because she could be slapped at any moment. So what people are suggesting is that when we talk about that there may be men who still do those kinds of things, not all, But even if not, I'm not even going to say that. If we talk about what the 40s and the 50s and that type of era when women really didn't have any rights, to mention that in the sense of men could legally beat their wives and their children. They say it's the color purpling. Um, but what I find problematic is no one is suggesting that people stay there. No one is suggesting to acknowledge how your mind was framed. I mean, the things that, like we just talked about, what my daughter saw me do, it had an imprint on her way of thinking. But had she didn't stay there though. So by acknowledging how what I did to her affected her, how is that the color purpling? The color purpling would be if she used it as a reason not to do anything else. And that's what I have a problem with.
Yeah,
OG, please tell me
it's
something
so
else.
ironic that I just put up a video about me not doing my research because I don't know what the heck. I don't know where I got to rewatch this video or this movie. I don't know where I'm gonna find it. Probably not at Blockbuster, right? But
Blockbuster doesn't exist.
I gotta find this movie somewhere. If people are talking about it, I don't know anything, guys. I only know about these damn law books back here. I don't really know much else.
I agree that, yeah, we don't want to stay stuck in that mentality. But the fact of the matter is, if you look at statistics now, it's worse now because a lot of the young Black men are not only beating, but they're actually deleting a lot of their girlfriends and wives now, even more than back then, if you look at statistics. So, but no, nobody wants to stay there. Of course not.
No.
But to you, Lee, the reason why I will not start my YouTube channel is because I do not need you shading me and then shouting me out in the same damn breath. I'll just let you know that.
Yes, what happened? Because I remember you were starting a channel. What happened with that?
I can't start it now. I told you for legal reasons, but I'm just messing with you because I always see you. I'd be like, Lee, be low key, shading folks, and then shouting them out all in the same goddamn breath. Like, what is that about?
It's crazy. It could be a little petty. That might be my attorney.
Wait. Shout out to Tasha K. Shout out to Tasha K.
See.
Yeah, that is absolutely true. I could be a little bit, I could touch a button here and there. I could, reach out and touch it a little bit.
That is all right, y'all. I just want to holler and then say I'm gonna go back in the chat. It's a great interview, so I appreciate you, Lee. Appreciate you, TJ. Don't get discouraged, girl. We are the older generation that's in these streets for a reason, trying to school and help in any way we can with the younger generation. And we gonna get a little bit of the mouth and the flat back, but you know what? We just keep moving. We just keep helping those that's gonna get it. That's all.
Yes, and listen, I ain't. I said in the very beginning, I ain't for everybody, and I'm okay with that. How you doing, Jedi Mike?
All right. Talk to you guys later.
Bye, Patrice.
Bye.
And guys, I got about 15 more minutes up here.
Okay, sir.
Yeah. But y'all keep going.
Okay.
Yeah.
Jedi Mike, what you got?
How you doing?
Good. How you doing, Jedi Mike?
I get to see y'all again.
Yeah, it's good to see you too.
But yeah, I just want to say this was just an amazing live stream. What you guys are going to. Obviously, TJ, I've been watching the back end. Just obviously with your content and everything, we just continue to support you. But going to the topic, you're saying obviously just in terms of before the previous caller came on, you're talking about how you said in the Manosphere, how you say you're not anti-marriage, you're not also not say for marriage. It's like you're almost kind of neutral with the situation. Now with me in my age demographic, I'm 23 years old, right? Now in college, obviously there's a very, very, crucial time, especially, people in terms of being engaged, getting married and stuff like that, in their senior year. Now, the question for me is that, I'm from pro-marriage, obviously, I guess just I'm Christian. My parents are pastors, so I prioritize marriage. But my thing, my topic, my question I want to ask to you is that a lot of other men in my social group are kind of like in the fear of marriage and going to the worst case scenario in terms of stuff that you see in the background. But I'm saying for them, I think it's almost just fear before, we actually are fully developed as men. And my question is like, how can I best advise them in a situation of not to have that fear, running their mentality in terms of moving forward and not being, being cautious of marriage, but also not being afraid of the commitment, the responsibilities and duties that come with marriage.
Yeah. Yeah. This is
I hope it's a question. I mean, I hope I
no,
worded it
no,
right.
no. This is actually a great question. And it's absolutely a question that I would let me see, where do I want to how do I want to talk about this? Your question was, how do you advise your friends, not to be so fearful of marriage? All right.
Right.
We need to take a few steps back for a second, right? Now, your intent is to help your friends out is abs. I just read. I just read Courtney. Shaking the thing. That was funny. Shout out to Courtney. That threw me off. It's hard to throw me off, but that threw me off. Right? Your intent is absolutely it's laudable. It is fantastic. It is admirable. All right. But you're making a mistake. You're making a mistake by trying to advise your friends not to be scared of marriage, not to be fearful of marriage. And you're making a mistake for a number of reasons. Now, the first reason is that your friends look at you and they're like, Jedi Mike, you're 23, right? You're 23. You've never been married. How are you going to tell us anything about whether we should or should not be fearful of marriage? What they're basically thinking is you don't know what you're talking about. And to be honest, they could probably be right. Because and this is not shading you because you're young. I'm sure you know way more at 23 than I knew. But at the end of the day, now looking back at what I know as a 20-year divorce attorney, I can pretty much assure you that you don't understand what marriage is. In fact, I don't think I'll just state that there's no one in the Manosphere that understands marriage more than me. There's no one that's been in all of these jury trials, all of these bench trials representing not only men, but also women, right? I have a fundamental understanding of marriage and divorce that no one has in this space. And so when I look at you at 23 and you're going to try to advise these young men about marriage, I think you might be a little over your head. And I think they might notice that. And that could cause conflict when between your friends. You want to be good. Your intention is good. You want to help your friends out. But they're looking at you like, you're 23. You've never been married. You've never had a wife. What do you know at all about this stuff, right? So your intention is good. I think if you want to advise your friends, the best advice you could give them is to go talk to a divorce attorney in their town and sit down with a divorce attorney for an hour. Pay whatever, if it's $200, $300, $400, it will be the best $300, $400 that they've ever spent. They're going to spend $300 anyway on some shoes, right? Why don't they spend that $300 on some knowledge? They're going to spend 30 grand, 40 grand that year on college. Why don't they spend a tenth of that, 1% of that, and actually get some real knowledge? All right. Tell them to go talk to a divorce attorney who's been practicing for 10 years or over. That attorney knows things about marriage and divorce that you do not know. That attorney understands why men should be appropriately fearful of that institution. There's nothing you can tell these men that would equal what that 10-year divorce attorney could tell them, right? That is the best way for you to advise your friends. Tell them to go to an expert, because you might be an expert on marriage in 20 years, and even then, probably not, right? I don't know what field you're going to be in, but you're not an expert now. And when non-experts try to advise other people, stuff starts getting out of whack. So
But let me clarify. Let me clarify, because I appreciate you responding to that. But on my stance, the way I respond to them is not saying, well, obviously I'm not married. Obviously I'm in a relationship. Obviously leading to marriage. But my point is, what I was trying to advise more of walking a fear-based mindset, right? But it's not saying not to remove any caution and also have self-awareness of the institution that comes with marriage. And I'm glad that you said you emphasize that to bring awareness. But my thing is, to them, it's almost like they get OCD. They don't see the benefits. They don't want to throw away the benefits of it, but not and only see the negative. Right. And I'm a byproduct of a successful marriage. So I think it is a biased stance that I come from. But my thing is that I know I want to push to us being, the 80% being more well, being married and stuff. But my thing is, I'm not coming and say, listen to me, I have the answers. I'm just saying, don't walk in a fear-based mindset. Be cautious, but don't walk in a fear-based mindset. But
what does that mean to walk in? If someone says, hey, lead, I want you to go on a safari, and it's the most dangerous safari in the world, and there are tigers and lions and snakes and spiders, and you could get malaria and die. Do you want to go on this trip? Like, no, I don't. I'm scared of that. Oh, don't walk in a fear-based mindset. Jedi Mike, we have to be cautious of using just these concepts, these ideas. Don't walk in a fear-based mindset. What do you really mean? And
so I can, let me, if I'm able to retort. So it's like on that point when you're saying the analogy of the walking in the fear. Well, I'm not saying it's about courage. You're not saying I'm not saying in moving to a situation that has a lot of high risk, but the whole thing, high risk, high reward. It's just saying letting that fear paralyze you. It's saying that at making that step. I don't want to say to my friend, it might be a only God would know that he might be a marriageable guy, 10 years from now. But if I tell him, dude, don't walk in there, man, I ain't for you, or blah, 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 then I'm paralyzing him from actually reaping the benefits of it. But to say, not to say be cautious of the situation, like, hey, there is a bad side to it if you choose the wrong person, which is why I emphasize the vetting process and be more crucial before you even go to ring shopping, doing all those stuff. That's why I have a conversation.
You see what you're doing? Hold on right quick. I know this is your channel, but do you see what you're doing? Because you're talking about I recommend going through the vetting process. Do you know what you just did there? You're kind of putting yourself in a position of power. You're putting yourself in an advisory position. You just said that you advise them about the vetting process. There you go again, slipping into the role of an expert. When, if we're honest, you really don't know what you're talking about, right? That's why I said the best advice is to have them go to someone who does know what they're talking about. You can advise people on a lot of things, Jedi Mike, but you cannot advise people on all things. You're just not competent to do it. I am not competent to do it. People come to me, hey, lead, the cops are saying I murdered somebody. Can you take my case? No. I am not competent to handle your murder trial. I do high asset divorces, not murder trials. But you're an attorney. I know I'm an attorney, but I'm not competent to handle that case. And you can correct me if I'm wrong, but if you say you're 23 and you've never been married, in my mind, coming where I'm coming from, you are not competent to advise someone on marriage. You're just not.
No, I agree with you.
No, you say you agree with it, but then you slip back and said, I advise, getting in the vetting process. That's where I heard it. You're advising.
Okay, let me clarify. So on that one conversation,
okay, I must interject.
Okay, sorry about that.
It's my turn now.
Right.
I have to agree with Lee, Jedi Mike. I understand what you're trying to say, but in my opinion, well, let's look at what Sir Mike Hale speaks. Sir Hale speaks. Says, I got married in 19, and there, in all caps, is a reason to be afraid. You don't know who you are or really how to love someone else. Absolutely. And I believe, and again, I'm not an attorney, but the best thing that you could do for your friends is to be the example that they want to see. Because at 23, I'm sorry, you wouldn't be able to tell me nothing either. I'm just saying. And again, my daughter who's 27 and married, was able to share some things with me that I got, that I needed to square away. Why? She is married. And even though she's younger than me, she knows some things that I didn't know because I taught her wrong. So she was able to teach me, and I'm seeing what works. So I'm not saying I can't learn from you just because you're 23, but I got to be able to see something. But also to Lee's point, absolutely, knowledge is power. So, and the best thing you could do for a friend, I mean, it's almost like me going back to OU. And perfect example. Several of my friends met at OU and got married. I was one of the ones. Girl, what you want to do, kid? What you want to get married for? They've been married for 20-some years. I didn't know what the hell I was talking about. The best thing I could have done is shut up and watch them work. I understand what you're trying to do, but it's not your place to do. The best thing that you could do, in my opinion, is to continue to encourage them, but I would stay away from advising, me personally. Go ahead, Lee.
Yeah, I agree with you. Thank you.
No, go ahead, Jedi Mike. I know you wanted to respond, but
no, I think it's because also
we're not trying to beat you up.
No, absolutely not. If anything, I invite the beating if there is any potential. No, but I think in the situation about the advisory role, I don't think it's even intentionally. I think it's subconsciously, like my friends kind of put me in that situation, not just with that particular topic, just in general. So it's almost like what I'm being put into being a role I never asked to be in. That's why I guess it's just one reason why I asked you, because like I want to be there for my friends. I want to help them out, be the brother's keeper and stuff. But at the same time, you're right. I am incompetent of this particular issue, which is why I asked, the best way to respond for it. But yeah, I do hear you. You're absolutely right. Like I know my place, and also just know that there's a situation between, the difference between intellect and wisdom, right? Having the difference of having the obtaining of intellect of knowledge, but then wisdom is the application of that knowledge. So I just want to know, I understand that. I just want to make sure that I'm not walking on eggshells in this particular issue, and making sure I'm just handling myself the best way possible, but not trying to lead someone astray, and especially some of my friends and something like that. But yeah,
but it's okay to say, you know what, that's not my area of expertise, and I don't feel comfortable advising you on that.
Exactly.
It's always okay to say that.
Just like when someone says, "Hey, I killed somebody. Can you handle my case?" No. No. Well, what should I do? You should talk to somebody that can handle your case. You should talk to an expert, right? Because that's what you should do, because you get sucked in, and you said it. I'm not going to let you backtrack from it. You said, "Oh, well, this is when I explained it in the vetting process." No. That's like, "Oh, can you handle my case, my murder case?" No, but here's what I need you to do. Oh, I've slipped into it. Right? So the key is not even open the door. Just say, your friends come to you, "Hey, I got a question about marriage." Right? If you want to talk to somebody bad, talk to your pastor. You want to talk to somebody good, talk to a divorce attorney. But talk to somebody, anybody but me. Anybody but me.
And then also talk to somebody that's married.
I do not agree with that necessarily.
No.
And again, this is because this is why I'm an expert.
Okay.
Because I hear stuff said like this all of the time, and you guys have no idea how many people who are married and are living in terrible marriages, right? Oh, make sure they're married. Being married means nothing. It means absolutely nothing. Now, if you have been married, I mean, it means something, I suppose, because you've been married once, right, to one particular person who may or may not have been crazy, and you're gonna give your wisdom based on that crazy person that you were married to. Oh, let me tell you about marriage. But are you married? Yes, I am married. But you told me your husband was crazy. Well, I'm still married, so let me tell you about marriage. No. Right? No. Right? I'm reading your emails, guys. I get them in Discovery. I'm reading your Facebook messages. I'm reading your Instagram DMs. I'm seeing all the horrors that you put on your Visa credit card. I'm seeing so much that you guys do not have access to. The fact that someone says, "Oh, I'm married," it counts for something, I guess. Jedi Mike, if you've never been married, it's like, Jesus, what are you going to talk about? But if you are currently married, is what I'm saying. Going through the institution actually means a lot. Let me be precise. The fact that someone is currently married right now means very little. Just do they have the experience? Have they been married before? But if you say, oh, well, this person is divorced, or this person's only been 2 years, there's so much that regular people don't, even if they've been married 2 or 3 times, they have no idea what thousands of people's marriages look like. When you see things in quantities, that's when you start seeing the real. That's when you start seeing the real dynamics. If you've been married a few times and your neighbor's been married and maybe your sister or your daughter, you're like, oh, okay, I think, okay, all right, that's 7 marriages, right? But what if you look at 1,000? What if you look at 2,000? Now you're so, okay. Now we're talking, right? So Jedi Mike, that's the only thing, and some people will say, oh, don't listen to them. They're not currently married. You're gonna be leaving some wisdom on the table if you do that.
No,
That's
I
my
100%
feeling
agree.
anyway.
No, thank you. No, absolutely, thank you. But yeah, I'll
problem.
definitely take this into consideration. And you're right. And I also want retract maybe that when I said that I was being put in a situation, that I do think it's a choice that I choose to put myself in that situation, even though my friends look at me into an advisory role, but I have the choice not to be in that advisory
Look
role.
at Jedi Ryan. Look at Jedi Mike accepting responsibility, accountability. That's what's up, man. Shout out to you, Jedi Mike. You are the man.
Okay. All right. No, I'm
That's
just listening.
awesome.
Responding. But yeah, and retaining information.
That's awesome.
But no, yeah. So I just want
one last thing, because we got one more person, and I know the lead's got to get out of here.
Yeah, well, I don't want to take too long. I'm just saying that, but I'll take everything in consideration. But I appreciate both of you guys, and I continue to support you. But yeah,
thank you so much.
Yes.
Good evening, panel.
How are you doing?
Evening.
I'm good. How you doing, lead attorney? How you doing, Ms. TJ?
Doing
I'm
fantastic.
fine. How are you?
I'm great, to be honest with you, and forgive me for not camming up. I'm kind of just getting home from work and all over the place.
No, you're good.
I gotta tell you, I was nervous.
Why? Because of that picture of Martin on that?
No, hey, listen. Shout out to Courtney Michelle, because she did a show and the guy was waiting, and before we knew it, he showed us some things we weren't ready for. I'm like, Lord.
Uh-oh.
Yes.
Yeah, that just means y'all in them YouTube streets. That's all.
I screamed. I said, I'm too young to see that. Anyway, okay.
Look, that ain't the first stream it happened on. It happened on several people's streams. So we got trolls out here. So, you just gotta be careful before you bring them up. So I understand.
Yes, sir. What you got?
To the lead attorney, you dropped some bombs tonight that I really appreciate, because there's things going on in America as a whole. I'm not going to speak to selective communities. I'm just going to speak to the whole of American community. And it's not just happening here in America. It's happening all across the globe. But I can only speak to, what is more present to try to paint the picture a lot better. And the one you were talking about was the elders in the community. And of course, you didn't say it in that manner. You said it's like your grandmother dying. It's like a library burning down.
Mm-hmm.
So that's definitely a jewel. And in the community of America, that's what we're lacking. We're lacking the respect of our elders. And I think because of that, this is why, and I'm going to tie you guys' lives into this. This is why, Ms. TJ, you can get into, the job and the task that you did, and the lead attorney get into the job and the task you did and just get burned out. Because in my opinion, there was some foresight that wasn't taken into consideration. Would you say that?
Foresight, like, what do you mean?
Foresight of, let's say you have people before you guiding you from a sphere of mentorship, telling you that at this particular stage of your career, you can burn out, or you may burn out.
For me, I really think for everybody, just having mentors is so important. And I can't really say that I had a lot of strong mentors, but to the extent that I did have older attorneys helping me out, it was an absolute godsend, because you really can't you can if you're trying to learn stuff by yourself on your own, you can really only learn it's so little compared to what other people can teach you, especially people who have been down the road that you are going, right? So we talked a little bit about marriages before and how if someone says they're married now, then maybe they're qualified to talk to you about marriage. But a lot of people are in some terrible marriages, and I know that more than anybody in the Manosphere. Right. So you really, if you want to talk to somebody, I would suppose if you're going to use that criteria, talking to somebody who has been in the institution, that would help, but who has been in the institution successfully for a number of years. So maybe like someone who has been happily married for a number of years. Knowing that happily married doesn't mean you're happy every day. That's a huge part of knowing about what marriage is, right? And so, yes, talking to someone who will put you on game is invaluable. I absolutely agree with that.
Yeah.
Well, in my case, I've had mentors pretty much. I mean, even going back to the military, and I continued once I got out. But one of the things my first boss told me, he was a major at the time and he retired as a general. But when I worked for him, I asked him, I said, "Sir, how long you think you're going to do this? Stay in the Army?" And he said, "I'm going to stay as long as it's fun." I remembered that. And fun doesn't necessarily mean it's not going to be some hard times, but I knew what he meant was as long as he was getting something out of it and it wasn't drudgery to go to work. I remembered that. So when it got to a point in the last, I guess within the last 10 years, I start to feel that wasn't any fun anymore. And I had to start making some decisions, and especially in the last 8 years or so, especially when my daughter was gone, and I was seeing that it was taking a toll on me. So I think the mentor, I've had many good mentors, but what stuck in my mind is what my very first mentor told me, and he was talking about the Army, but I use that as it relates to any career. The moment that you're not getting any enjoyment or fulfillment out of it, you might need to move around and do something else.
And agree. And I speak to this in some, somewhat of a specificity when I speak foresight, because there may be something up the road that could have led you to the drudgery that you actually could have avoided down the path. And to say that, I'm going to tie in what the lead attorney said, and then I'll let you guys go on about do your thing. Those cracks in the foundation. Those cracks in the foundation can be illustrated as, to the point that I'm making, that if specific, we might go down the path that we desire versus the path that just leads us to wherever we end up at. Would you agree?
I'm gonna be honest, brother. I did not understand what you said.
Okay, so you said the cracks in the foundation is what kind of hindered the conversation moving forward with TJ and the young lady in the YouTube based on her tone and how she spoke, correct?
I started off by saying that the tone was the tone was off, and that's what started the conversation down the wrong road.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So in a sense, can we also, agree to a degree, whether it be to the fullest degree or just to a sensitive degree, that had we had knowledge of what we were going to be approached by in our career fields specifically, then it's a possibility that the drudgery wouldn't have happened in the manner in which it happened, because I'm pretty sure it can come from all angles, but just in the manner in which you guys experienced.
That's a lot of ifs, but I'll just generally speaking, no. Here's the thing. If you're 18 years old and you're a star running back in your high school, and then you go to college and you're a star running back in college, D1, you playing for the Dogs, and then the Falcons pick you up, right? So now what? Let's say you're 21 and you're going to be a running back for the Falcons. Well, older people can tell you, hey man, being a running back is a tough position. You're going to get hit every time you touch the ball. All right. There's going to be some drudgery. All right. And you might last 5 years. Now, after year 2, your body's going to start tearing apart, and hopefully you can get to year 5, right? But if you can get to year 3, you're going to have $80 million. You're going to get an $80 million contract, right? That does not mean that, once you're in year 2 or year 3, someone can tell you something to avoid the drudgery. There's no avoiding the drudgery of a running back. It's impossible, right? There's no avoiding the drudgery of the stress of being an attorney. It's impossible. The only way to avoid the stress of being an attorney is to not be an attorney. The only way to avoid the drudgery of being a running back is to not be a running back, right? So sometimes we do what we got to do.
So you're dredging. So the drudgery you speaking of is the drudgery of an attorney, which is the drudgery of the whole picture, versus, like let's just say, considering you're going to be in these, YouTube spaces for a while, there can and may be some drudgery with that, because we do have some of the people that led this space find themselves to a space of drudgery. But today you expressed that you felt good creating content clips and creating thumbnails and things like that. That's excitement is what continues to keep you going, correct?
Yes.
Right. So if you could have found a similar excitement along the way during the 15 year before, when the drudgery came, if you still would have had a little bit of more spice in that tank, you think it wouldn't have been possible for you to keep going?
Yeah, I could have gone another year or 2. Listen, I don't know what you want me to tell you. Just look what you're saying and apply it to a running back. If whatever you kind of the point that you have in your mind, apply it to a running back. A running back, can he stretch out an extra year or 2? Yes, he can. Can somebody put him on game? Oh, you should put on Bengay instead of Icy Hot. Maybe that'll get you an extra 6 months. All right. At a certain point, it is what it is. It's time to put the shoes up. It's time to put the cleats up.
I kind of speak from experience. That's the only reason why I'm able to
come up with the concept. We all speak from experience.
Exactly.
It's not like you're coming up here putting us on game.
No,
to be honest.
no way. Remove that tone.
Listen, don't tell me what to do. Number one, you called up here to talk to me.
Dang.
All right. Let me just be honest.
I'm with you.
But I appreciate what you're saying, brother. And I feel like, you're trying to, I see where you're coming from. I feel like I'm trying to get there with you. I really do. And I appreciate you coming up. But like I said 15 minutes ago that I needed to leave, and that was 15 minutes ago. So but you guys still keep going. You guys still keep going.
Thank you so much, the lead attorney, for coming and giving me this opportunity, and also giving me some sage counsel, pointing out my errors, and I am going to address those right now.
You are awesome. Well, thank you so much. And I hit it. Thank you, guys. Thank you so. And I don't know if I'm pronouncing your name right. Is it K or?
Yes, sir. It's K.
Thank you so much, K. And thank you again, TJ, for having me up. I really appreciate it. Thanks to everybody in the chat. I know I wasn't reading the comments, but I'm trying to be up here and focus on TJ and the conversation. Thank you to everybody. And again, y'all keep going, and I got to step out. But thank you so much again, TJ. Really appreciate it.
Salute to you, LA.
All right.
So I guess, do you see the comment here, Kay? Is this, because I'll be honest, I'm not really sure I'm tracking on what you're saying.
It's probably because I talk slow. I try to make sure that I get everything out so that way nobody won't get confused. But even when I do that, people still get confused. So the point that I'm actually bringing in is the drudgery aspect could have been avoided to some degree.
I'm not sure that it can.
I mean, it's more of a question than it is a comment.
Okay.
So I'm not making a definitive statement, but in my speaking of experience, I do understand that movement is life. So would you agree to that particular statement, that movement is life?
Yeah, change is constant. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so if change is constant, when we look at our career fields and how long we've been in them, and, the drudgery aspect of it, can we not say that, just the sphere of our life is larger than what we actually focused our energy on?
Okay, I'm sorry, but let me tell you a little about me. I'm military. and we do the bottom line up front. What's the bottom? What are you trying to ask? Because again, I'm not getting it.
Well, he talked about, I'm using, in my mind, what I see is the cracks in the paper, right? I mean, the cracks in the foundation. And from that, he was saying how your conversation, could either get twisted or it went left from the beginning. So
Absolutely.
the bottom line is, when we pick these career fields and our ideals of what the end is going to look like, and then when we get to the end, it's not what it seems. Is it possible it's not that? Because we're out here just doing it alone. We don't actually have somebody guiding us along the way, the whole way through, or giving us, a curriculum to showcase this is what year one is going to look like, year 2, year 3, year 4, to keep you in that vigorous manner. That way the drudgery won't extend to the point where it got to.
Well, I'm going to disagree with you, because even if someone were to tell you that, each person's experience and how they deal with that is going to be different. Because just because it became drudgery for me at a certain point doesn't necessarily mean it will be drudgery for you. So I could have had the blueprint and thinking that I would have been able to withstand and continue, but only after going into it and doing it. Because there are whole, like you said, change, or so you said life is something, I can't remember, but to that point, things in my life could have affected my ability to want to deal with it. So even if somebody did tell me, and I would have thought, yeah, I can stick with it. But because I am not the same at 54 that I was at 44, certain things I will be willing to deal with at 44 are completely different at 54. Another example I will give you, as a civilian, I would give retirement briefings to military who were getting ready to go into the civilian sector. I told them, for the past 20 to 30 years, you've done what you've had to do. Now you can do what you want to do. Because again, the course of the 20-year life in their military career, there have been ups and downs, and some decided to retire because, like I said, it was no longer fun. But at the time they enlisted 20 plus years ago, they envisioned that they would stay for 30. Some may have, some may not have. So again, if someone is to give you the playbook, it really doesn't matter, because what it depends on is how you, the individual, are going to be able to employ or react or respond, adjust to the playbook. And you don't know that until you're in it.
I'm in agree with parts of it, but just to that point, then how valuable is the content of our elders if we can see life from a particular point of view, that an elder's foresight, and when I say elder, we're not just talking age of time. We could talk age of time spent in a particular career field or whatever. It can cross across many different facets of life when I'm speaking elder, but mainly I'm speaking an age of time across specific fields of life, no matter what field you come from or whatever sphere you come from. What value to us is our elders' content if what you just laid out is a truism?
Well, first of all, you were talking about careers. Are we talking about what are we talking about? And that's why I asked you bottom line up front. If we're talking about careers, that's one thing. If we're talking about life experiences, that's something completely different. Because
okay, I'm an elder in my career field.
Well, I'm talking about a career. Let's talk about life for a minute.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm 54.
Mm-hmm.
Took me a long, I've been through a whole bunch of stuff.
Yes, ma'am.
A whole bunch of stuff I did well, a whole bunch of things I didn't do well, i.e., as a single mom, there are some things I shouldn't have, I did that I shouldn't have done as far as raising my daughter. In relationships, there are some things I shouldn't have done that probably would have got me married a lot sooner. Well, if a young person wants to come behind me and not do it the way that I did, then I can see how that does benefit them. Because again, you have a choice, and it's all about choices. But the information determines the choice you're going to make. Again, I can give you the playbook about the things that I did wrong. And you can decide whether or not you want to go down that route or not. But as an elder, it's my responsibility to tell you whether you take it or not.
And
so I guess I'm kind of confused, because on the one hand, you're talking career field, and on the other hand, we're talking life. So, because you can choose your career field, kind of, sort of, if it's not edifying to you. But either way, you got to live this life.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. And in my opinion, or from where I stand in my experience, they're one and the same. Meaning they can be split up in trying to get to a specific outcome in a conversation, but they can also be put together in the same context, because you got to live through your experience regardless of whether you have a career or you don't have a career. In your career, you still got to get through those, grungy days. So how did you get through those grungy days and still perform at work, which was your duty and your obligation to your employer or whoever, or whatever your particular task was, because you may be an employer yourself. So you may be, an obligation or duty to your employees. I think they can be one and the same. So when we got to split it up, that kind of makes things, more dynamic. And then, of course, you can get lost in it. But if you could put them together, it's a possibility you can see the whole picture of what I was trying to paint versus what I did paint.
Well, I appreciate you, but I have to, I'm going to go ahead and say I'm sorry that I still didn't get it, because to me, when we're talking about careers, and it's kind of like what the lead said, it came a point in his life that it was no longer fulfilling. So, even if they would have given him more money, it wasn't fulfilling, myself included. I'm making six figures, but it wasn't fun anymore. So especially when you get to a certain age, you have to decide, is it money that motivates you, or is it something that feeds your soul, that edifies you? In my case, it was something that feeds my soul. So I had to make a shift. So that's I hold career something completely different than navigating life. Maybe they do intertwine, no doubt. But I fail to see the point that you are trying to make, and I apologize that I don't see it. But I'm going to go ahead and have to wrap up, because I've been on longer than I planned. But I thank you for coming up, and I thank you for calling, and I appreciate you listening.
Yes, ma'am. I thank you. Appreciate it. You have a good one.
Okay, everyone. Real quick, I thank you all for tuning in, and I thank the TLA's subscribers that joined in. And one of the things about me, I have often said that I am never too old, too grown, too proud to admit that I'm wrong. So with that said, I'm going to address the situation with Miss Chantel, and if she is listening, or if you are subscribers to her, please pass this on to her. I will agree with the lead that my initial approach to my comment started off wrong. And I know that the way, attitude brings about attitude. I can receive, I can understand, and I know that. So for that, I apologize. But also to that point, in addition to that point, if I felt the way I felt about what she put on her page, I didn't have to comment at all. And that's the truth about that. So I apologize for that too. Another thing, in this space, the goal is, when I say in this space, for the women that I have come to know and work with, the goal is for us to learn from each other, to learn from the things that we did well, to learn from the things we didn't do well. And me, as being an elder, I made many a mistake that kept me from finding the love of my life. But one of the reasons, not the sole reason, but one of the reasons I did start this channel is because I do want to help young women and seasoned women like myself that if you want to be married, if you want to have a relationship, learn from the things I didn't do so well. And that is another reason that I have the conversations with women like Courtney Michelle, Lauren Melissa, Lucky Marie, and also my daughter, who I call my fruit, on Saturdays, because she can attest to that her mother couldn't show her how to be a wife because she wasn't one. One thing you will, if you choose to follow some of my content, I find it necessary to talk about not only what I did wrong, but possibly the reasons that I did them wrong, the reasons why. And that goes back to some of the things that the young lady was talking about, the mindset. It's a contributing factor. You know, the daddy issues that I've already talked about that I had, and you've heard, if you followed me, my dad even admitted to them. It's a contributing factor, but I did not sit in it. That's the problem, or the color purpling, if you will. Not to acknowledge what has been done, but to sit in and stay stuck in what has been done. Because only by asking yourself not just the what of your behaviors, but the whys of your behaviors, can you begin to correct the behaviors. So I will continue to talk about those things, and I will continue to invite women to share those things, because you can't get better for something that you don't acknowledge. And I am better now because I have acknowledged, I worked through it. Gratefully, I was able to do the work to, like what we talked about, me and Courtney Michelle, that I did the work. And instead of, I'm not going to say byproduct, but by me doing the work that I needed to do, enabled me to recognize the kind of man that my husband is and not let him get away from me. And to become the woman I've said I always wanted to be, but never allowed myself to be, because I had to make things happen for my daughter. So to the young lady, if she's listening, I apologize for coming to your house, i.e. your channel, to say something that did not serve any benefit. Because again, I can see what the lead is saying. When I said young lady, read your history, young lady, everything else probably wasn't even paid attention to. And I understand that. And it was wrong. It was wrong. So what I aim to do, like I said, I know I'm repeating myself, but you know, it's the Baileys. What I hope to do in working with the women that I've already talked about is to create a space and dialogue that we can learn from each other. Everyone doesn't aspire to be married. And even if you aspire to be married, you still may not be. I couldn't even guarantee it for myself, but I'm so much better. And I was better before I met him. And that's what we want. That's what we want. And we want to hold each other accountable, meaning, listen, like now, Terry, you was wrong. And own that you're wrong. So anyway, thank y'all for tuning in. This was fun. I appreciate the support. I appreciate the Cash Apps. And let's see where we are right now. Oh my gosh, let's see where we are right now. Let's see where we are right now. I'm at 911 subscribers. What? I'm close to 1,000. So I believe I'll be able to get my 1,000 goal for Christmas. So thank you. Y'all have a wonderful evening, and thanks for tuning in. I'm going to leave out with my nephew doing his ting. Again, Rhyan Spunk Adams, Shoreline. You can find him on Spotify and Apple Music. Rhyan Spunk Adams. Good night.